of Pakistan by Stanley Wolpert. Chapter 5 Amritsar to Nagpur. Ruthie sat behind him on the platform, a vivid reminder of all that he personally risked from so revolutionary a step. He would, of course, be expected to give up his lucrative legal practice as long as Satyagraha continued, if he endorsed it, which he never did. He must have sensed now as well that the unique role of rising political power he had enjoyed at Lucknow was starting its rapid descent. Gandhi's star burned so bright that now esker luminaries could barely be seen in India's political firmament. Jinnah tried nonetheless to recapture the position he had held little more than a year ago, castigating British rule for its broken promises. Jinnah noted how the majority of Royal Commission appointed to investigate the Punjab atrocities exonerated the hate-crazed General Dyer and his minions as one more flagrant and disgraceful instance that there can be no justice when there is a conflict between an Englishman and an Indian. The government of India, with its keen sense of humor and characteristic modesty, he added trenchantly, proceeds to forward a resolution in its dispatch to the Secretary of State, commending its conduct, blind to the fact that they were in the position of an accused passing judgment. Now, let us turn to the great error of judgment, the judicious finding of the cabinet, which itself is no less an error. I must mention the parliamentary debate. Of course, Mr. Montagu hadn't the time to put India's case before the House, being far too busy offering personal explanations. And then the blue and brainless blood of England, to their crowning glory, carried the infamous resolution of Lord Finlay. Viscount Finlay of Nairn had proposed honouring the deranged Brigadier General R.E. Dyer, hailed by the Lords as hero of the hour, presented with a large purse and jewelled sword inscribed Saviour of the Punjab, and was backed by 8 British dukes, 6 marquises, 31 earls, 10 viscounts, and 74 barons. These are the enormities crying aloud, and we have met today face to face with a dangerous and most unprecedented situation. The solution is not easy and the difficulties are great, but I cannot ask the people to submit to the wrong after wrong. Jinnah was clearly torn, his heart and mind rent by the grave problems he tried to face rationally, doggedly seeking to avoid the abyss of civil war. Yet, I would still ask the government to not drive the people of India to desperation, or else there is no other course left open to the people except to inaugurate the policy of non-cooperation, though not necessarily the program of Mr. Gandhi. Jinnah thus moved as close as ever he dared to the far side of his personal faith in British justice and the noblest principles of Western civilization. He could not take that final stride into the vale of total rejection, however, as Gandhi and tens of millions who followed him would do, for that would have been a repudiation of himself, of all he stood for, and had become. Jinnah was no more of a Maulana than a Mahatma, and could no sooner have relinquished his elegant legal chambers and clubs for village or prison life than Gandhi could have abandoned spinning to start a probate practice. The patterns of both personalities were by then set too firmly in fundamentally different molds to be altered without mortal damage. Each became the perfect prototype of a style of leadership suited to different constituencies, attuned to different languages, and goals fashioned by different worlds. Jinnah was the model of urban westernized India at its cleanest and sharpest. Gandhi reflected India's ocean of peasant wisdom and village life, with its infinite capacity to endure poverty and patiently suffer any hardship. The Calcutta Congress gave Gandhi his first major victory, for though his non cooperation program was strongly opposed by Bengal's leading politicians C.R. Das 1870 to 1925 and B.C. Powell 1858 to 1932, who joined forces with Jinnah and Annie Besant against him. The Mahatma, with the Ali brothers and Motilal Nehru in his corner, emerged with a clear majority mandate to lead the march against the government. Khilafat trainloads of delegates hired by Bombay's merchant prince Mia Muhammad Chotani, one of Gandhi's leading supporters, had been shipped cross country to pack the Congress pandal and vote for their hero's resolution, transforming Congress into a populist political party. It marked a revolutionary shift in Congress's base of support to lower class mass, funded by wealthy Hindu Marwari and Muslim merchant industrialists. Lokmanya Tilak died the day Mahatma Gandhi launched his first nationwide Satyagraha, August 1st, 1920. Tilak himself refused to accept Gandhi's lead and was too orthodox a Brahman to embrace the Khilafat cause. Annie Besant, who never trusted Gandhi, openly denounced his movement as a channel of hatred, while Gokhale's moderate successor at the head of the Servants of India Society, V.S. Srinivasa Sastry, 1869 to 1946, considered the Mahatma fanciful. Firoze Shah Mehta's most conservative disciple, Dinshaw-e Vacha, 1854 to 1936, a leader of the National Liberal Federation, called Gandhi a madman, mad and arrogant. Montague, who could not for the life of him understand Gandhi's saintly politics, but by now suspected that perhaps his Satyagraha as well as the Khilafat movement were both part of a Bolshevik conspiracy. The Secretary of State wrote Chelmsford the very day Gandhi won his Calcutta victory. The Bolsheviks, in their animosity to all settled government, are using the grievances of the Mohammedans. And what frightens me is the way in which Pan-Islamism is taking charge of the extremist movement. From Calcutta, both Jinnah and Gandhi went by rail to Bombay to attend a Home Rule League Swaraj Sabha meeting there on October the 3rd, 1920. Gandhi chaired that meeting and proposed changing Annie Besant's former organization's constitution to bring its goals more fully into line with his Satyagraha campaign to secure complete Swaraj for India, according to the wishes of the Indian people. Jinnah argued against the motion, insisting that attainment of self-government within the British Commonwealth by constitutional methods remained the Sabha's best goal and the only one he could accept. Gandhi remarked that anyone was free to resign from the Sabha who could not accept the majority's decision. Only 61 members attended that meeting, which had been called at short notice, but of those less than one-third, 18, agreed with Jinnah, including his loyal Bombay Parsi lieutenants, the brothers Jumnadas and Kanji Dwarkadas. The defeated minority left the meeting, and before month's end, Jinnah wrote with great sorrow to resign from the league he had once led. Gandhi then wrote to seek to win Jinnah back, asking him to take his share in the new life and that has opened up before the country and benefit the country by your experience and guidance. Jinnah's reply to that letter indicates how passionately apprehensive he felt on the eve of the Nagpur Congress about the course Gandhi charted for India. If by new life you mean your methods and your program, I am afraid I cannot accept them, for I am fully convinced that it must lead to disaster. But the actual new life that has opened up before the country is that we are faced with a government that pays no heed to the grievances, feelings, and sentiments of the people, that our own countrymen are divided. The moderate party is still going wrong, that your methods have already caused split and division in almost every institution that you have approached hitherto, and in the public life of the country, not only amongst Hindus and Muslims, but between Hindus and Muslims, and even between fathers and sons. People generally are desperate all over the country, and your extreme program has, for the moment, struck the imagination mostly of the inexperienced youth and the ignorant and the illiterate. All this means complete disorganization and chaos. What the consequence of this may be, I shudder to contemplate. But I, for one, am convinced that the present policy of the government is the primary cause of it all, and unless that cause is removed, the effects must continue. I have no voice or power to remove the cause, but at the same time, I do not wish my countrymen to be dragged to the brink of precipice in order to be shattered. What that shudder of apprehension in 1920, Jinnah's first rude awakening to the death knell of his dream of national leadership and unity. Clearly, he had no faith in Gandhi or his judgment to save India from being shattered. Was this possibly his first premonition of partition? The only way for the nationalists, Jinnah warned in his revealing letter, is to unite and work for a program which is universally acceptable for the early attainment of complete responsible government. Such a program cannot be dictated by any single individual, but must have the approval and support of all the prominent nationalist leaders in the country. And to achieve this end, I am sure my colleagues and myself shall continue to work. While conceding his own weakness on one hand, Jinnah thus reaffirmed his commitment to the same goal, the same struggle for responsible government through Hindu-Muslim unity, to which he had devoted himself since long before Lucknow. His wounded pride was palpable, perhaps more in those concluding remarks even than in his pained confession, "I have no voice or power." Central India's Nagpur hosted both regular sessions of the Muslim League and Congress after Christmas in 1920. That ancient parched stronghold of Hindu religious sentiment, fueled by Nag Vidarbha regional militancy, gave birth to a new Congress under Gandhi's revolutionary leadership. The Mahatma first moved his credo resolution at the meeting of the Subjects Committee on December 28th, proposing the attainment of Swaraj by the people of India by all legitimate and peaceful means. Jinnah immediately objected that it was impractical and dangerous to dissolve the British connection without greater preparation for independence. But Gandhi argued, "I do not for one moment suggest that we want to end the British connection at all costs unconditionally. If the British connection is for the advancement of India, we do not want to destroy it. I know before we are done with this great battle on which we have embarked, we have to go possibly through a sea of blood. But let it not be said of us or any of us that we are guilty of shedding blood, but let it be said by generations yet to be born that we suffered, that we shed not somebody's blood but our own, And so I have no hesitation in saying that I do not want to show much sympathy for those who had their heads broken or who were said to have been in danger of losing their lives. What does it matter? Jinnah argued as best as he could against the resolution in committee, but was told his caution betrayed a want of courage and was shouted as well as voted down the next day. As that fateful year rushed to its end, the new creed was placed by Gandhi before the more than 14,500 delegates who flocked to Nagpur and crowded the Congress tent, more than twice the number at Amritsar a year earlier. The Mahatma's resolution was greeted with deafening, prolonged cheers and applause. Lala Lajpat Rai seconded the motion amid further raucous acclamation. Jinnah alone rose and demanded to be heard in opposition, striding to the dais. Mr. Jinnah, with the usual smile on his face, mounted the platform with a case suggestive of self-confidence and the conviction of a man, and opposed in an argumentative, lucid and clear style the change of creed, reported the Times of India. He was howled down with cries of shame, shame and political impostor. He referred to Mr. Gandhi's resolution, but the irate audience yelled, "No, Mahatma Gandhi." He repeated, "Mr." Then finally abandoned any preface, seeking a way to inject some air of logical reasoning into an atmosphere charged with passionate emotion. At the moment, the destinies of the country are in the hands of two men, Jinnah argued. One of them is Gandhi. Therefore, standing on this platform, knowing as I do that he commands the majority in this assembly, I appeal to him to pause, to cry halt before it is too late. Jinnah's appeal went unanswered by Gandhi. However, as the boos, hisses and catcalls of the audience finally drove the author of the Lucknow Pact and ex-president of the Home Rule League and the Bombay Conference from that Nagpur platform. As the Central Provinces Commissioner, Frank Sly quite accurately reported of the Nagpur Congress to Chelmsford 2 days later, Jinnah carried no influence. It was the most bitterly humiliating experience of his public life. He left central India with Ruthi by the next train, the searing memory of his defeat at Nagpur permanently emblazoned on his brain. Whatever hopes he had had of national leadership were buried that day. Gandhi had scaled the heights of political popularity. Jinnah plummeted over the precipice to a new low, reviled by fellow Muslim Khilafat leaders even more than by the Mahatma's devoutest Hindu disciples. Shaukat Ali hated him and made no secret of his sentiments wherever he went. Though he had presided over the Muslim League only 3 months earlier, Jinnah did not even bother to attend its Nagpur session, rightly gauging the futility of his opposition to the Gandhi Khilafat Express. He had no more heart for raucous confrontations that bitter December, no stomach left for the names he had been called. He had warned them openly of the futility of their battle plan, told them honestly of the havoc he correctly anticipated would be unleashed by and against the suddenly politicized masses. Yet every jury, Khilafat Conference, Swaraj Sabha, Congress and Muslim League had rejected his arguments as outmoded, cowardly and invalid. There was no court of appeals left for the moment, so Jinnah went silently home, his career in politics in shambles, though hardly at an end.